Have you heard the going rate for having your hair and makeup done for a wedding or some other special event by a professional, obviously? I'm hearing quotes around $400, and that's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I'm saying that could be a piece of furniture. Have you ever considered doing your own makeup? I know many of us have sort of a basic everyday look that we've, quote unquote, perfected. But when it comes to special occasions, we just don't know what to do differently or how to make a more dramatic look or something that's going to look great on camera. So let's talk about that because I think you absolutely can do it yourself. And I want to show you step by step some important things to make sure that you do in order to get the best possible results. I'm Michelle Fox from Michelle Fox Beauty. I have a blog and a YouTube channel and a Facebook business page. So wherever you want to reach out to me, I'd love to hear from you. And as you watch this today, if you have comments or questions, please go ahead and post that. Let's talk about preparing the area. I think that is probably the biggest thing that is overlooked. When we do our makeup just real quick for the day, or when we think about how we've been doing our makeup in our 20s and 30s, 40s, now maybe we're in our 50s, 60s, 70s, we need to prepare the area differently because things have changed, have they not? So the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you're using the right kind of eye cream. Find eye cream that works for you, whatever your current situation is. And once you apply it, give it time to do its thing, give it time to absorb. I think another issue is that when we add steps, we rush them. So we'll put on the eye cream and then we'll put on the primer and the makeup and then wonder why it looks blotchy. It's because we're not giving each step enough time. So let's find an eye cream that works for us. If the eye cream doesn't seem to really be doing enough, consider adding like a hydrogel eye patch or something that has uber hydration. You don't ever want to put anything super close to your eyes, like to the lash line, because the heat of your body will draw it closer. And make sure that whatever you're using is safe for the eye area. You'd be surprised how many times they are not. But we want to find some kind of moisturizer / eye cream that you love and apply that. Give it time to set before we move on to the next step. So for me, I've got a couple of different eye creams. I have one that I use like around my eyes that moisturizes and it corrects. But then I also have one that I use on my lid, and that is to help with the crepiness of my lid. And it's very, very gentle. It's just a unique product that I really like. So I use two different eye creams. Let that absorb. Then we're moving on. The second step in our prep for our eye area would be primer. You hear the word primer quite a lot. There's foundation primer, lip primer. I'm talking about eye primer, eyeshadow primer. This is something that you apply, and it is not anything to do with correcting wrinkles or adding moisture. This is purely something for your eyeshadow to grab onto so that it lasts longer, blends better, doesn't crease and fade throughout the day. And it also just gives a truer color payoff. Usually the color is more intense when you're using a primer beforehand. The primer that I use has been discontinued, so I'm actually looking for a primer to use. If you've got something to recommend, I'd love to hear it. I usually hear MAC recommended, but I want to know if you're using the MAC eye primer or if you're using the MAC paint pot as an eye primer, because they've got a couple of different options. And I've done the paint pot before, and I do like that. But the primer that I use does not have any color. So that's the other thing that you'll notice. They have some have color, some don't. The reason why they might have color is to cover any discoloration, any irregularities that might be on your lids so that you have a smooth, even canvas to work with. The primer that I've been using does not have that. So sometimes when I want my makeup to look extra special, which is what we're talking about, I will use a concealer after the primer. So I apply the primer, let that dry, then I put the concealer on my eyes, and I actually use a like a cream eyeshadow brush to apply it all over and let that set as well. So that's just an extra step if your eye primer doesn't have any color to it. Then we need to talk about what eyeshadow shades to use. I like to choose colors that emphasize your eyes, that bring out the beauty of your eyes. You want people to say, wow, your eyes look stunning, rather than I love that eyeshadow. There's a slight difference, and one of the ways to discover or to choose what shadow colors to use is to use the color wheel. So you would find where your eye color lands on the color wheel, and then across from that, you're going to find complementary colors that will bring out the shade of your eyes. I actually have another video explaining this. I would suggest that when you're done here that you go back and watch that one, because that is a really, really good video. It's probably one of my most popular videos. Brown eyes can wear almost anything, and we tend to feel sorry for ourselves when we have brown eyes because they don't seem as exciting as blue or green or silver. But the good news about brown eyes is that we have a huge variety of eyeshadow shades that look great on us. The colors that I chose are in the purples, the violet range, for a couple of reasons. One, I know it looks good on me because I've used it before. Two, purple's my favorite color. Three, my dress is purple. No, you don't have to match your dress. That's really what I'm getting at, is that sometimes we have preconceived ideas of what eyeshadow we need to wear in order to look glam or to really make our eyes be noticed. But oftentimes, less is more, and the colors that you're using might be too much and actually take away from the beauty of your eyes. So that is definitely something to investigate. So after we've prepped the area, after we've chosen our eyeshadow shades, we are going to practice, practice, practice. That is the key. And within that practice, we're going to make sure that we are using certain principles. One really important one is to use quality brushes that will make a difference. Another one is to use a variety of intensities, meaning like light to dark. They don't have to necessarily be exactly the same color family, but you want some light colors, some medium colors, and some deep colors so that you can blend. And if we're going for drama, we don't want there to be a real harsh one color to the next. We want it to blend. We'll go over that in just a second. We're going to learn how to line our eyes to correct any imbalance that may have occurred with age. And we're going to remember to focus on the top more so than the bottom. I know for me, lining underneath my eyes was the thing to do for, 80s and 90s. What I have learned the hard way is that the more you emphasize the bottom half, the more your eyes are dragged down. And I had droopy eyes even before I started to get older. But now that I am older, my eyes are hooded and droopy. And the ends out here are like lower than the end over here. So I need to focus more on the top to draw everybody's eye up. All right. So I'm going to show you how this all plays out. Are you ready? So I've already prepped my eyes. I've got my moisturizers, my eye creams and all that good stuff, several different kinds. I've got my primer and the concealer. I've given that all time to dry. Something else to keep in mind, and I will hopefully remember to do this as I go along, is to be setting as you go. So I've already done my foundation and my cheek color. And to set that, after I did those two things, I went over it with a setting powder to take any shine off, to keep my foundation so that it lasts longer, to help my cheek color blend. But I will also be using a finishing spray at the end. So powders and sprays throughout the makeup application process are going to help it last longer and look more professional too. So we are going to start with a very, very light color. And I am just going to show you, this is in many ways how I do my eye colors regularly, but we're adding more colors. Like I might typically use 3 shades. We're going to use about 6 shades today. So, all right. And let's see. I think I'll put my mirror. I learned this before that if I have my mirror right in the front, even though I can't see the monitor very well, you can still see me. So, and I guess that's important. Okay. So, what we're going to do is find sort of a standard eyeshadow brush, and we're going to apply a light shade under the brow and on the lid. And that is pretty standard procedure, I would say, for a lot of makeup looks. The reason why you want to have something light under your brow is to emphasize your brow bone and to emphasize your beautifully shaped brows. So, if you don't have beautifully shaped brows, you want to think about having that done also. My brows are pretty sparse. I've already put some brow definer pencil on them. Normally, I do that at the very end, but I just wanted to focus on the shadow today. But really, you could do it before and after, as far as doing like your eyebrow area, because when you do it before, it kind of helps you know where the frame is, and then you might need to touch it up after because some of it might have gotten rubbed off through the process. All right, so light shade underneath the brow. I'm using a very soft, extremely subtle pink. All right, it does not look really pink, it looks more white, but it has a little bit of pink in it. And I like there to be quite a bit of drama um, under my brow and on my lid, close to my lashes. I like that to be very light so that it draws that out. I don't have a lot of space up in this area here, and I don't have a lot of space on my lids when my eyes are relaxed. So that lighter color is going to make it seem as if I've got more real estate, as they say. Now I'm going to use a matte mid-tone shade, and this was sort of a dusty rose shade. The lightest color that I used is matte. This color is matte, and I'm using a small-headed brush because I want to really be precise in where I apply it. And this time I'm creating sort of a make-believe crease. It's not so much a cut crease, but instead of going right in that little divot in there, I'm going to actually create a crease that's a little bit higher and wider than that because I'm faking it. I'm faking it till I make it. So see how I've created a crease, but that's actually higher than where my real crease is. Coming from the outside, coming in, just making sort of an arch. And if the first time it wasn't laid down perfectly, that's fine because we're going to keep going over it with the same small headed brush, but we're just going to sort of blend it ever so slightly. We want to keep it in that general area, but we want to spread it out a little bit just to help smooth it and correct any mistakes that we've made. And then we're going to also start bringing it down toward where the actual crease is. You can typically see more of my lid on this side than you can this side. So when I'm dealing with this mid-tone, I actually am going to bring it down a little bit onto that real light color. I'm using the same brush. I'm just dragging it down a bit. I'm actually trying to diminish some of that white, the dramatic white on this side. All right. There's a reason why, because on the other side, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm loading up with that same matte, medium pink, dusty pink. I'm kind of creating a crease on my own. You can see that's kind of patchy. So I need to go back and just kind of follow that same line a few more times. This is the eye that doesn't show as much when my face is relaxed. So I do not want to bring this darker color any lower than the actual crease, the actual, indentation here where my orbital bone is. So I'm going to absolutely stop at that point, but I can bring it up a little bit. About the same amount that I went up on this side. I want to go up on this side, but I'm not bringing it down. If your eyes are symmetrical, this is something that you don't even have to worry about. but most of us have slightly different eyes. So this will be a good opportunity for you to take a look and see when your eyes are relaxed, can you see more of one lid than the other? All right, so far we've only done 2 shades. They've both been matte. Now, I typically stay away from shimmer because I think it can accentuate the crepiness of my eyes. However, for special occasions, that can be just kind of an extra special add-on. And so I am going to be using a few shimmers today. It's really up to you if you want to do that or not. I'm using another crease brush. This one is a little bit fatter, but it still has a pointed end, but it's going to deposit the color in a wider area. And I'm using a frosted iris color. It's a frosted, sort of a medium purple, not super dark. And I'm really going to go in pretty much the same area that I just went, but I'm using a different brush. Starting in the same position from the outer area and coming in. Then I'm going to start out here and bring it down toward my lashes. So by using sort of a gradient of colors, we're just helping it blend so that it's smoothly moving from light to dark. There's not like a real harsh line anywhere. And this time around, I'm not really messing with the, up here, down there, all that stuff. I did that with the medium pink shade, so that's done, and that's why we did it then. Now we're just going to keep things pretty symmetrical. It's good to take a moment and then back up and look at yourself and see if this outer crease needs to come up a little bit higher. Mine usually does. You just sort of blend it up. Blend it up. All right, so we've done 3. Now I am taking, it's another standard eyeshadow brush, but it's a little bit smaller than the very first one I used because, again, I'm trying to be more precise, and I'm using a deeper shade of purple, still shimmery. This one is a plum, like a really deep plum, and I'm just going to go in this outer corner and in about the outer third of my lid. And then once you've laid that down, go ahead and, without dipping back into the color, just sort of blend it in with these other shades that we've already used, and blend in here as well. Just, again, we don't want any harsh lines. We want everything to sort of flow. All right. Now we're going to take a very tiny brush. Tiny in the sense that it's just got a really small head on it. And we're going to dip into something even darker. So I have a really dark Merlot shade. You could even use black. And what we're trying to do is just to get even a deeper shade, but we don't want it to overpower what we've done. So we're just going to put a little dot of it sort of in this outer corner. Just focus on that dot. All right, and once that color's laid down, then we're going to just, in a really small area, feather it out. Feather it toward the center, feather it toward your lashes, and then toward your crease. But as you go darker, you need to be more careful and more controlled, because if you put on too much, it is kind of difficult to take it off, but it's easier to add. So start small, blend, take a look, see if you need a little bit more. So I just really stayed in that outer area. I'll do it over here as well. So we're just focusing on a dot in the outer corner. Really make that precise. And then we're just going to blend it in, but not in a wide, broad area. We're going to keep that really controlled. All right. We're going to do a little bit of blending before we move on to a couple more shades. I usually have a wide, fluffy brush that I only use to blend, so it doesn't have any other color, never has. And I'm just blending this inner area here, just kind of getting any fallout out of the way and blending these shades to make sure that they, again, there aren't any harsh lines, but this is just in this area here on both sides. I do not brush across the whole thing. Sometimes we can blend too much and actually take off what we just laid down. That's not what we're trying to do. All right. And then I have another brush that's just a little bit smaller that I use for the outer area. But again, I spent a lot of time building up that drama, so I don't want to wipe that off. I just want to soften the edge. I want it to kind of have that look of an infinity pool where it just kind of seems like it just goes and goes. And so part of that is just softening the edge so that it just looks like it blends. You can't really see exactly where it stops. You know what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? This can be tricky because you can end up taking off too much and then they don't look even. I've been there many times. So just a little bit. Just taking the edge off. All right, let's see what's going on. And then I also have a long tapered fluffy brush that I use. Is that the one I want? Let me see. I got a couple of them. I think I want this one. That I use to blend the crease. Again, I want to be careful that I'm not just making it a muddy mess. I just want to stay right in the crease using a light touch. And I'm just making sure that everything is blended. Since we created sort of a fake crease to begin with, I've got several different shades going. So this, I'm just blending it along the crease line. So these processes, these last couple steps are not about laying down more color. It's just about making sure that everything blends smoothly. Something that's really popular to do is to add a light shimmer just right in the center of your lid. And believe it or not, the easiest and best way to do it is just using your fingers. So I've got sort of a champagne rose gold shade. I applied it to my middle finger because that's about the size that I want it to be. And I'm just going to dab it right in the center of my eye, hold it there for a sec, and then just dab, dab, dab. I just want just sort of a little splotch, little bit of color, that shimmer right in the center there. And I'm dabbing, not rubbing, because like I said, I don't want to disturb what I've already laid down. Okay. Do it on the other side. This is a shimmer. It's a light shimmer, and it's going to reflect the light as the camera or the video hits you. It's going to reflect there. It's just going to have a really pretty effect. And in a similar way, you want to get that tiny barrel brush again. I've got to take off the dark shade, clean that off, because we're going to use a light shade right in our tear duct. All right, use the smallest brush you've got. We just want to put just like a dot right in the tear duct area. And it's just to catch the light. All right, so we had like the light pink, the medium pink, the shimmery medium purple, the deep purple, the really dark, almost black, and then we just did like a champagne rose gold. So that's 6 eye colors. Now we're going to talk about lining. Like I said, it's a great idea to focus on the top rather than the bottom. I would suggest that you use a pencil or pen or liquid liner along the top, and then maybe use a shadow on the bottom so that it's much more subtle. I'm going to use black. If black is intimidating to you, you could use a deep brown or even like a really deep violet with this look, but it needs to have some oomph. You want it to make your lashes seem fuller and thicker. And also for me, I want to, instead of having my eye end down low like this, like the crease of my eye be so low, I'm going to kind of lift that by with my liner, okay? And the way that I do that is I start out sort of like where I wish my eye ended. Instead of down here, I wish it was like up here. I'm going to start there and just draw a line straight across to about the middle of my lash line, which is basically when I make a straight line, that's where it ends. Like as soon as I touch my lash line, I want to stop. Okay, so I'm starting out here. I'm drawing a straight line, but then when I hit my lashes, I stop. So I'm not going all the way to the end. Okay. And yes, it does create a tail in that outer area. So I want to fill in any gaps. So when you look at it up close, you can tell that it's wider at the end than it is in the center and that it doesn't go all the way across. But when you've got your mascara on and someone's looking at you from a distance, it's just going to give you some lift and it's going to make your lashes look fuller and thicker. So this is just a traditional black eyeliner. And back to the topic of setting things, if you suspect that your eyeliner might move at all, you want to set it with a shade, an eyeshadow, a powder eyeshadow on top of it. So I'm just kind of covering what I laid down, but then I'm going to come down and I'm going to go underneath. And this is the Merlot, that really dark Merlot that I used in the dot area. And kind of bring that out a bit. So we're going over that dark liner to set it. Mine doesn't really move so much, but I like to go over it with this powder because then it also helps to blend it with what I'm about to do underneath, which I take that dark Merlot and I line underneath my lashes. And I only go about not quite halfway. Same reason. I don't want to like bring it all the way here and then have too much emphasis in this inner area. I want everything to be out and up. And then if you feel like you need to kind of connect them out here, that is fine. Bring this dark color out a little bit. If you wanted to, you could even take this dark color and make sort of a wall. Let's do it. If you want to take that same color that we did underneath, you can then sort of line this area out here. You can think of it as making a wall. And then from there, just kind of push it in to blend. All right, make a wall on the other side. And then we're just going to push that in to blend. That's optional, but it can look really cool. All right. Time for some primer. All right. So I have an eye primer. No, I have a makeup primer spray, a finishing spray, setting spray. And I just like to do that on my eyes right now because I'm going to add some more mascara. Typically, I would not have applied my mascara yet. I would be doing it right now for the first time, but I had a little bit on. And I do the setting spray before I do the mascara. I just like to just focus on setting that powder. And then I come in and do some more lashes. This is a great time to learn how to do false eyelashes if that appeals to you at all, because they look fantastic in photos. But you can also find a great mascara that gives the look of false lashes. And that's lately the route I've been going. I love false lashes, but sometimes it irritates my eyes. And for the lashes underneath, just use the tip of your mascara wand and just sort of dab at them. Most of us have really thin, fine, short lashes under here. And if you try to just do it like this, you're just going to make a mess. So just sort of dab at them. If you don't want to do anything underneath, you don't have to, especially if you don't wear glasses. This is the look I'm practicing for my daughter's wedding. If you want to know how I chose these colors or how you can choose colors to really bring out your own eyes, stay tuned for the next video that's going to be popping up in just a sec. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.